if you smell what the Rock is cooking.
Acknowledge me.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
We are bad to the bone. Get it? Bad to the bone.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I'll fight anybody. Who do you want? Just let me fight him.
Let me tell you something, Jim Ross.
Mega power, yeah.
We got it for you.
We are the best of the best.
Woo! Wheeling, dealing.
Smart marks.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Talk 'em Into the Building, a podcast about wrestling and the wrestling promo or segments or whatever you want to call it, but all about the talkers. So we talk about the hype men, talk about the talkers, and pontificate on the promo. I had to think about what the catchphrase was, man. I had to think about it. It's been a minute since I've had to host one. But I'm here in Atlanta. Down the street, not too far from me, is Adrian. How's it going?
What's going on, man? I'm doing good, man. Shout out to the listeners.
All the way across the country. Lead out there in the city of Angels, Los Angeles. What's going on, bro?
Hey, living it up and love to be here again.
Yes, for sure, for sure. All right, so tonight I brought we're going to focus on one person. So to set it up for everybody out there, a lot of times we bring promos or segments or something that nobody knows, right? They don't know what I'm bringing. So we're going to talk about somebody tonight. But before we get into who that is, this is, to me, as I said, think about my fandom and my fandom of pro wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call this thing. I think about who's been the most influential people ever, right? And when I say influential, it's in the ring, out of the ring, behind the scenes, creative. It's all kinds of different places, right? So I'm just going to jump it to you, Lead. Think about somebody who, if we were going to do a Rushmore, by the way, we do Rushmore episodes too, but this is not a Rushmore. But if you're going to put somebody out there, let's just say you think about somebody who's contributed to the business and their influence has been generational, outside events, who would it be?
Man, that's a deep one, man. Because my mind goes to pro wrestlers, but my other mind goes to maybe behind the scenes production people. So I'm gonna throw one that I don't think I can defend ultimately. I'm sure we can come up with bigger names, but growing up in watching the Attitude Era when I was in my teens. So many times I would put in the tape deck, or maybe I recorded them off a Raw or a SmackDown, and I'd play the entrance theme, and you had to recreate it. As a teenager, you had to hear that glass shatter. And Jim Johnston, for me, is a titan. I mean, if you think about like the soundtrack of pro wrestling to this day, we're still trying to emulate some of those theme songs, right? We're still trying to definitely think back of like the one note, right? I can think like in my head, the bell tolling for the Undertaker, the first key when you play it on a piano with the synthesizer for Kane, you knew what was coming, right? There's all these just real signature pieces that it just took one or two notes, and you're like, and you see it on the VHSs, and the people rise, and it's just like immediate, action and drama, and it's storytelling ultimately. Because I do think of that time where he was working in tandem to some point with the costumers, with the set design people, and that's all production. I love that side of the business. So I have to put in a vote for Jim Johnston, the composer for so many classic themes. And I know he had an influence on everybody that does stuff now, including the composer that does the AEW themes, which have also been some pretty good ones. So that's Ruckus over there in AEW, but that's what I think.
That's a good call out, man. How he is not in the Hall of Fame, it drives me crazy.
It's nuts, yeah.
It's some political thing, I think, right? That's what I
think it used to be, but I don't know what it is now. But yeah, man, that's a great call out, because the issue today is back then you could hear that first note, you knew immediately, right? And it still irritates me with Mick Foley's interest song, because every time I hear a car screech, I'm thinking Razor Ramon. but I mean, that Gold Dust, I mean, there's just so many that he came up with.
Hit on hit, yeah.
Man, and then I don't know if you guys have ever seen the videos of him composing some of those or talking about
them.
Man, he was like, yeah, and then I just thought about doing this, and then I thought, oh,
Yeah.
this might be good. It's just
I
like,
like the one they do for Beyond the Mat, where he's coming up with Vader's theme, where he's going over it, and he's like, I don't know, it's like he was walking real heavy and whatnot.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah, that's a good call out right there. So
Nice.
think about that. What's your favorite? This could be a hard one. Give me a couple of your three favorite theme songs.
oh man, if you're asking me just straight up, I'm gonna be real basic, and I don't care
Go
ultimately
for it.
because
Go
I
for it.
love it, and this is who I am. You gotta go Stone Cold because anybody's gonna get hyped with that. I
Yeah.
love The Rock back then, glasses before he lost his hair and the you know the sideburns, the whole deal, the $500 Versace,
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
the whole thing. So gotta put his theme song up there. And you know what? Because they are hype every time I see them, even to grown old men. Even though this is actually something that wasn't composed, the Hardy Boys theme song, man. It's like public domain, but that thing hits.
Mm-hmm.
That thing hits, especially if you're a pro wrestling fan. But
For sure.
I'm sure with
Adrian,
time I can come up with better ones, but
Nah, I mean those are all three solid. Adrian, what do you got?
Or for theme songs?
Yes, sir.
All right. Arn Anderson's WCW theme was always one of my favorites. I love the guitar riff. That was always one of my favorites. Stone Cold is definitely got to be one of them for sure. And I'm trying to think, man. My last one. I love Punk's theme, man.
Mm.
I love, yeah. This is just a really good song, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In living color, yeah.
I think my favorites from Jim Johnson are probably Razor Ramon. I
Mm.
love that one. Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, that's a good one.
that
Was
is
to
really
me just
good.
classic,
Yeah.
just cool. And then how do you not go with DX? I mean,
This is true. This is
I
true.
I remember, and here's the other thing. Think about back then when we all wanted those songs, and then they came out with that like Volume 4 Attitude Era, and it hit like number one on the Billboard charts. It was like, what in the world just happened to
Yeah.
wrestling?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. Adrian, we're going to come to you now. Influential person, somebody who just could be any role.
It's got to be Ric Flair, man.
Mm.
One of the
Yeah.
greatest of all time. He's influenced not just the wrestling business, and you see a lot of wrestlers that try to emulate his gimmick, and it crosses over to culturally. You know, a lot of hip hop stars they loved Ric Flair. Ric Flair Drip was a super popular song. You know what I'm saying? And people love Ric Flair to this day. You know, I want to say that's what it was. Chris Paul. At one point, I was a season ticket holder for uh, the Hornets, the New Orleans Hornets,
Mm.
and Chris Paul was the star point guard. Whenever he would score, they would on the big screen or whatnot. They would show Chris Paul, and he would do the Ric Flair woo, and that would be over in that whole arena. So the Smoothie King Arena. So Ric Flair is still one of the greatest, even though he crashes out often online, unfortunately.
Yes,
But
he does.
yeah, he's one of the greatest of all time, and I think his influence on pro wrestling is we're still seeing it. We still see it to this day.
Okay, nice call out. Nice call out. Um, so I'm glad we brought three different people this time because sometimes y'all we have the same people or we may have it in our heads because I know Idale's stolen mine so many times. I always had to have a backup over here just in case. But no, those are two great call outs. So the one I'm thinking about is somebody who wasn't always front and center, rarely front and center, but without his existence, I wonder where we would be today. And that, whom we just lost, Ted Turner.
Hmm.
Because Ted put wrestling on on his TV station here in Atlanta. And I think he said 1973 was the first time, and he has always openly admitted He built that station on 3 things: Andy Griffith,
Mm-hmm.
pro wrestling, and the Atlanta Braves.
Braves. Yep.
Man.
And he said that, and so that's why he was always loyal to wrestling. But if you think about what he did, he was loyal to that. Even though he didn't own it, he did not own Georgia Championship Wrestling. Then Georgia Championship Wrestling sells to Vince. Then they come back and he helps Jim Crockett Promotions get that time slot back. And then Jim Crockett Promotions goes into bankruptcy. He buys it. And then, but you think about even prior to that, he gave them time slots every Saturday night, every Saturday morning, every Sunday night, and then Clash of Champions. And we talk about today, Tony Khan going head to head against Slammiversary, or Hunter and that group going head to head against All In, all these other things. The original was Ted.
Yeah.
Clash of Champions went head to head against WrestleMania, to the point that the cable companies were pissed and said, "Don't do that again."
Yeah.
Because it took pay-per-views away. And when we talk about ratings later on with the Monday Night Wars, and even today, that Clash of Champions was smoking everything at the time. If you go back and look at those, they were bringing in stupid numbers because it was live. It was Flair versus Sting in the first one, and it was live, head to head. And I remember watching it. But yeah, it was just crazy. So to me, Ted Turner, outside of Vince, without those two, where are we? Without WCW, if WCW folds in 1989 and he doesn't buy, NWA or whatever, Jim Crockett Promotions, there's no competition.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's rough.
In 1990, there's no competition.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's, the territories are dead. There's world class and all that.
Right.
Vince is a monopoly from that day, and I don't think there's no way we're sitting there on an ESPN deal.
Oh no.
No.
AEW doesn't exist.
No.
TNA doesn't exist.
No.
Just kind of crazy to think about, because we talked about the releases recently, we talked about all these other things that, hey, these guys have AEW, then they have TNA, they got Japan, all these other places they can go. Even GCW, all those, the independents are on fire. You had none of that back then. And it's just crazy to think what happens if he doesn't throw that money at him. So I brought a few times that Ted was actually on WCW programming.
Oh, nice.
So that's what I brought today. So we're going to start with one where he's actually at center stage.
WCW Saturday night, and we've got a couple of very, very special people. Good friends of ours, and of course of World Championship Wrestling. Jane Fonda. Jane, welcome to center stage. And of course, our fearless leader, Ted Turner. Ted, it just seems to me like you take a look at these guys, they get bigger, they get better, and World Championship Wrestling just seems to keep on bigger and better all the time, too.
Well, I've been involved with the wrestling business since we started televising it back in, I think, 73. And so it's a real pleasure for me to be really in it now.
Well, the growth is phenomenal, and we certainly appreciate your support. I can't tell you what an honor it is. These fans love you. We want to see more of you. All right, stay tuned when we return. We're going to be back with the Super Bowl.
Put it in context for anybody who doesn't know, center stage is still downtown. About 600 seats, maybe, if that. Yeah, recently TNA ran there, and NXT's run there.
NXT used to be there.
Yeah. So
GCW.
Yeah, GCW's run there. There's a bunch of people who still go in there, so it's not a very big spot. That was the WCW Saturday night taping, because at the time it's pre-Nitro, and y'all have to understand that Ted, a multi-billionaire,
sitting amongst the people, man,
sitting there with the people, with Jane Fonda.
That's crazy.
That
wild,
was
being
wild.
interviewed by me and Gene, and it's just he's just there. Just he has no involvement. I mean, he owns it, right? But he's not like involved in a storyline. He's not a
Yeah.
commissioner. He's never
Right.
had the authority figure role, and I just think it's cool. So, Adrian, just watching that, what's your reaction seeing Mean Gene interview old Ted?
I mean, that was fun, man. That was fun. Like we said, Ted Turner's sitting amongst the people. Center stage is a really small venue. No seat is a bad seat, especially for wrestling. That's
Yep.
probably why it's my favorite wrestling venue in the city. But yeah, that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. And again, we always talk about how good Mean Gene is, and he was I mean, he did great. He did his thing, and it wasn't. He's such a professional, man. He's the pros pro, and he dressed it up and made Ted Turner seem a little bit more interesting than what Ted Turner was. Ted Turner was a dry dude, but it is what it is. But he dressed him up, and Jane Fonda's right there, man. That's awesome. That's crazy. Yeah, that's nuts,
Man.
Ali, what's your first reaction on that one?
That was the same thing. I mean, just like it's like casually, Jane Fonda and Ted Turner.
Right.
It was like you don't really have to say much after that. Like we're gonna be listening, but I think it's cool that someone was as passionate to believe in this when maybe others would guffaw at it and be like, oh, wrestling, especially back then, right, where there was still this, kind of like disgust towards it, and like and more so towards the fans, because it's like, oh well, they're low rent, they're consuming this, like who are these people? And there he was in a full suit, right, just essentially just being a guy there for the show, just like everybody else was there. And I think that's the takeaway. But to the point of Mean Gene, I know it's a little macabre to want to do like AI voices, but I'm okay if Mean Gene just becomes my Echo voice or Echo Dot voice or your Apple CarPlay. I don't know. Let's license that out. I want that in my life.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I think this is what's cool about this is, to put this in context for people, is like, here's a multi-billionaire who owns CNN, owns TNT, owns TBS, owns all of that. Started the Goodwill Games. I mean, there's so many things going on.
Yeah.
Braves owner, Atlanta Hawks owner, all that, and he's just chilling. There he is. That's just wild, right? All right, so I got another one for you.
You got competition out there for the players, for the arenas, and everything else. That's what it's supposed to be. Mr. McMahon wasn't entitled to a monopoly position in this wrestling game. Mr. McMahon wasn't entitled to a monopoly position in this wrestling game. When contracts are up, people are free agents. We've been on the mat for so long. We had been hammerlocked, sucker punched, beat up, jumped on, stomped out, chairs broken over our heads, all the wrestling stuff by Vince for so long. But when I decide to do something, I stick with it. I wanted to go on Monday night because I wanted to go head-to-head with Vince. Wanted to compete and see how we did.
Think about that little statement from Ted about why he went head-to-head and all that. I'll come to you first.
I mean, he's a billionaire, right? He can do whatever he wants, and some people start charity foundations, others buy a pro wrestling company.
Right. Facts.
So, I mean, I don't think that's any different. And, when you've reached those levels of insane, and let's just be real, I'm not for billionaires generally, so let's be clear about that. But when you reach those levels of just essentially all you have to think about is your legacy, if you care about it.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that part of him was also maybe seeing that side of the business and seeing someone that maybe he didn't think should have the monopoly and challenging him on it, and having the kinds of money where even if WCW, which clearly ended up losing money at some point, right? I don't think it was completely profitable, but he he kept it going because he did want that juice from being in a competition at that level, right? And we just said it before, but without that level of commitment and challenging Vince with an alternative, a truly alternative product back when TV was TV, right?
Right.
It's not what it is today. Like, let's be real. This was talking about millions of watchers in the same era when you got like Seinfeld, you got Friends, you got these big time TV shows that are pulling in, tons of people.
Mm-hmm.
And here's pro wrestling, maybe not operating at that stratosphere, but because of competition, giving us damn well some crash TV in some cases, but at least memorable TV that it's become part of the pantheon, part of pop culture. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Vince on his own does that without Ted Turner being like, let's play, let's go.
Yeah, he pushed him. He definitely pushed him.
You think about what he just said. There's no monopoly, right? I don't want him to have a monopoly. And what we talked about before, stars jumping, prior to the Monday Night era, you had a Jake the Snake jump. Mm-hmm. You had Ricky Steamboat jump. You had the Barbarian. You had Junkyard Dog. You had Tom Zink. You had all these guys who were like up there in New York, as they used to call it, and coming down to Atlanta, and they were huge stars. They were bigger stars. It's very similar to somebody goes from WWE to AEW right now. Mm-hmm. Call it what it is. People don't like it, but they're looked at as a bigger star, right?
Yeah.
And it's they bring a credibility, and that happened all the time back then. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, it was kind of cool. And without Ted's vision and money, do we have Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a Goldberg, that's for sure. Do we have an Undertaker? You think about these guys or do we have a Goldust? Do we have a lot of these guys, right? So it's kind of listening to him talk about that. It's like, man, I don't want him to have that monopoly.
Yeah.
And then going back to that first interview, he talked about it's been on our station since 1970, whatever. So these building blocks that you kind of watch, and you're like, he's invested in it from day one.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now he owns it, and he wants to keep it afloat. And what we've heard is he kept it afloat on his own, while everybody else on the board was like, get rid of this thing. Right?
Yeah. So when they finally could, they did.
Yeah, once he was moved out.
It's crazy how similar that is to All Elite right now. No, All Elite right now. The parallels. This billionaire that wants this wrestling company to compete against against WWE, and their home network is like, I don't know, Tony.
I think the other parallel though is how Ted sold the company and merged and got moved out.
Yeah.
What happened to Vince? Sold the company and got moved out.
Yeah. That's fair.
So it's like all of a sudden neither one had any control. Kind of crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah. All right, it's got one more clip for you. This is kind of this is the last time I remember Ted ever being on WCW. He probably was on there at some point during the Monday Night Wars. I don't recall it, but I thought this one was a very pivotal moment because this is one of the first times I feel like he was in an angle, sort of. This is joining it as we go. This is the contract signing for Bash at the Beach, Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair.
Turn the meeting over to Mr. Turner.
Thanks, Gene. It's exciting to be here today for this announcement. Since we first put wrestling on Turner Network many years ago, it's been exciting entertainment programming for all our viewers. World Championship Wrestling has always been one of our most popular programs. The Braves have become a winning team in baseball. CNN is the leader in world's news and information. And now WCW is about to dominate the globe in professional wrestling. That's why we're here today, to sign the contract for a match between two of wrestling's biggest superstars, Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. I join millions of wrestling fans everywhere looking forward to this great showdown. Now, WCW Commissioner Nick Bockwinkel, let's get this contract signed.
Gentlemen, I would like to presume that you will conduct yourself in the manner that it is expected of both of you as the professionals that you are. Thank you.
I guess you'd like me to sign that, wouldn't you? Huh? You know, with all due respect to you, Mr. Turner, Ted, if I may, and to Hulk Hogan, let's be realistic for a minute. You know, I'm the one who should be so honored today. I'm sitting with a man that's made me a millionaire many times over, and I'm sitting with a man who I've been told for the past 10 years is the standard bearer, is the man that made professional wrestling what it is today, the man that's responsible for the millions of dollars that the wrestlers make, to make the industry, put it to a new dimension, took it to a new height. I guess I'm the honored one. Yet you pose the question, would the world champion be here? And you ask the question.
No, Mr. Flair. Let me tell you the way it really is. You don't have a choice. You're going to have to sign that contract, brother, simply because you couldn't even leave CNN Tower right now. The maniacs are out in the parking lot waiting on you, brother. You know, it could have very well been Sting sitting across from me after what happened at the Clash the other night. But you're going to have to sign the contract because you're going to have to look at your family, yourself, every day for the rest of your life in the mirror, brother. And as far as I'm concerned, we could do this thing right now and use Mr. Turner as the referee.
Oh, let's not do anything till we make history.
So, kind of cool to build on that. So Adrian, I'm gonna come to you first. So, like, what's your reaction seeing Ted in there with two of the GOATs?
Ted did really good, man. Ted looked energized. He seemed very natural at this point of talking his wrestling talk, and I mean he set it up very well. So shout out to him for that. Like you said, that's two of the GOATs, man, and I just love how smug Rick was in that segment. He was smug. He was like, "This is the great Hulk Hogan. I've been hearing it for this decade that you're the guy that raised the standard or set the bar in this industry. Well, I'm the bar, and you're about to learn that." You know, that was the matchup that we were all looking for when Hulk went to WCW. Mm-hmm. Like everyone, that's what everyone wanted immediately. So, two of the GOATs, man. Two of the greatest of all time. Love them or hate them for whatever, you know, it is what it is. Numbers don't lie, you know, numbers don't lie, man. Numbers don't lie.
Out of lead, seeing old Ted come out there with.
I don't know. Yeah, it added gravitas, right? Ultimately, because here you have someone who is in the background. You know, they're pulling strings, at least financially, and having a say in some direction of kind of where they're taking the business financially and putting it, like, you know, Rick implied this, you know, taking it to the stratosphere, but they were trying to put wrestling maybe on a different, with a different stream of consciousness for a different audience, right? Obviously there's the Atlanta connection, which I'm also fascinated with you guys because you lived through these events. You saw these things kind of formulate and percolate, and just being in Atlanta must have been kind of such an interesting way to experience it, because I think the rest of the country looking in, we got it, right? Especially Ted, and then Vince eventually making fun of him, because I can see already elements of here, the way he says WCW, right? That becomes a kind of a signature of how they make fun of him.
Right.
But he's fearless again. He's here. He's treating it like the work that it is, and he's not mocking it, because so many times you have people, even if they are financially invested in the company, they'll come in and kind of
Poo-poo
make
on
fun
it.
of it. And
Yeah.
it's not. He knows what this is because he is a fan, and
Right.
he plays it straight, even to the point as being a prop for Rick and Hogan at some point in the conversation.
Yeah.
So I think it was great, and I feel like we should see more of this, of people outside of the business, or that you don't regularly see as part of the main product, coming in and saying, like, we know what we're dealing with, right, as wrestling, but here's this person that will give it that gravitas, because they're also going to treat it with respect. And I think that's for me, that's cool on
That's
a
a good
different
point.
level.
Very
That's a
good
really
point.
good point.
Yeah.
Because for me, when I looked at this one, there's two things. You didn't see Ted, so when he shows up for that
Mhm.
that as big as Hogan and Flair were, Ted showing up took them up.
Yeah.
It would be like, if I thought about today, it'd be like Ari Emanuel
Yeah.
coming to his side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like if he showed up, who was never on TV,
Right.
or even Nick Khan, if he got in the ring and to a lesser degree, but if Ari Emanuel came into a WWE ring and said, "We're going to do this signing," we'd be like, "Holy crap!"
Mm.
You know, because it's not that commissioner that's there every week, or any character or anything like that. The other thing is, while he handled it well, he handled it like a businessman. Don't get it twisted. He's a promoter at heart.
Yeah, he
What do we
definitely
do?
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to
Yeah.
throw in the
Yeah.
Braves in there.
Yeah. Talk about the
And-
Braves. A winning Braves. Winning
yes, sir.
team. Yeah.
He knew exactly what he was doing. But
Yeah.
but the other thing that I thought was really cool, and if you guys ever go back and look at it, watch the angle they show. And Flair's talking, and you see Ted look, and you can see in his face he's having fun.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there is something in his face, like, man,
Yeah.
this is cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Hogan saying that about Ted can be ref, you see him look at Hogan like, I don't think so. But it's like there's that element that's just like he's enjoying it.
Yeah. You
And
can
it's
tell
like
he's a fan.
100%,
Yeah.
man. And I think that's what's cool. And I remember if you go back and look at old Braves footage and stuff like that in the
Mhm.
playoffs, him and Jane Fonda would be there doing the chop and doing all those things. Where a lot of times you wouldn't see that. You wouldn't see owners doing that, and they wouldn't
Mhm.
sit near the front. They'd sit in
Mhm.
their boxes. Nope, he was down
Yeah.
there in the middle of the people and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hear stuff about him, they always say he was just a dude. Like he
Yeah.
was just a guy who had vision and had fun and very entrepreneurial. But I mean, for me, it's hard to find anybody who's more influential and more thankful for me as a fan to say thank you, because without him, I don't know where we're at.
Yeah. That's true.
You know, it's
That's true.
competition makes everything better. We saw when WCW went away, WWE rested on their. I'm not gonna say that. Without competition, Vince and that team
It's a little
did
bit
not
content.
flourish.
Yeah, they were a bit content.
There's no need to
A
innovate.
bit.
Yeah.
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 And AEW comes in, they start, they got money. They don't have the ratings, they don't have the size, but they had the money backing them. And you see WWE got better, even
Mhm.
under this regime that we have now, or the one that when Vince was there, it got better
Yeah.
because there's competition and it's just natural. So, for me, I sit back and think about Ted and being in Atlanta. Of course, I was a big WCW fan. I will let you know that I was at that Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan match in Orlando. Just saying.
Nice. Nice.
And yeah, but it was very cool. Shaq was there. That was one of those ones that Shaq. We talk about celebrities now. Shaq was at the ring.
That's
So
right. That's right.
Another
That makes
big
sense.
time wrestling fan. Lifelong fan.
Yeah.
keep in mind he played it at the Magic at the time.
Uh-huh.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I know this is probably a little bit quicker episode, but yeah, I just wanted to touch on Ted Turner and to
Yeah,
celebrate
man.
his life and his contributions to our fandom.
Yeah.
Right on.
And he's one of those ones that's unsung because we don't think about as much about him. And I think he's another one. Flair, obviously, that you brought up earlier, Adrian, already in the Hall of Fame. Jim
Yeah.
Johnston should definitely be in the Hall of Fame, but I think Ted should have been too.
Absolutely.
I really do.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yep.
I think there's others. There's others that, not the same level, but I mean, you can make the argument that, hey, there's a Dixie Carter. Without her, as much as stuff that we didn't like she did, gave a lot of people a lot of jobs for a lot of years and kept a company afloat that now is on AMC. So
That's
there you
true.
go.
That's very true. Very true. Yeah, rest in power to Ted. He's definitely a legend here in the city
Mm,
of Atlanta. Meant he meant a lot to a lot of people in
Mm.
Atlanta. Provided a lot of jobs, so we got to
mhm,
take that into account.
mm,
CNN alone, it was plenty of jobs and plenty of opportunities with him. Back starting it and backing it. CNN was a big deal. CNN Center, that's a childhood place I remember going to before Hawks games and all of that stuff, the Omni and all of that, man. So yeah, shout out to him. Definitely an Atlanta legend, and he won't be forgotten. He definitely won't be forgotten.
yeah. I mean, you think about the way he's did for Atlanta sports. I mean,
Yeah,
the Braves, the Hawks.
yeah,
A lot of people don't realize this. The last baseball stadium we had, not SunTrust, but the
yeah,
one
yeah.
before that. I mean, that was called
Turner, Turner
Turner
Field.
Field. They named it
Yeah.
Turner Field.
Yep.
And then when they went to tear down the Omni and they built, well, at that time, well, now it's called State Farm, but he paid for that.
Huh.
So when they actually sold the Hawks,
Phillips,
that
yeah.
went with it.
Huh.
So
Oh,
that was
crazy.
something. Yeah, so that wasn't one of those ones where the city just paid for all of it. He did. And obviously you got tax breaks and all that, so we'll get it twisted.
For sure.
But
Yeah, no.
at the same time, there's that. And anybody out there who happens to see the Braves and they have MLB has all those City Connect jerseys. If you see this year's City Connect jersey, you'll see a logo on the side that says ATL, and that is actually in the old TBS logo.
Oh,
The
okay.
letters and the
Nice.
box is
Okay.
exactly.
Nice.
It's a throwback to being on TBS back in the day. So that's
Hell
pretty
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you, Adrian Adeli, for entertaining me with this Ted Turner talk. I know I like to bring the classics.
No doubt.
And, bring
Hey,
some
before
old
we get out of here,
Yes.
before we get out of here, I got a question. I know you led the episode. Great job, by the way. But I got a question for all three of us. Adeli, what's your favorite TBS moment? It doesn't have to be wrestling.
I mean, to be honest, it all kind of blends in.
Okay.
Because so I didn't catch Seinfeld on the first run, so it had to have been some kind of Seinfeld episode.
Get
that I
caught
really
up on
liked.
Seinfeld. That's a good call.
Yeah. It was probably something because I lived on that station for a while obviously for wrestling, but he just had good reruns and good TV on there.
Okay, great. What about you?
I mean, mine's probably wrestling. So if I truly go back, man, there's two of them.
Okay.
And they're pivotal in my fandom.
Yeah.
The first one, seeing Junkyard Dog on Saturday night, and that he was my first ever favorite wrestler, and coming out and just something about him. I connected with him, and then he got pile driven and he got blinded by the Freebirds, and I could not stand the Freebirds for nothing in the world. I hated them, dude. A fandom that I hated the Freebirds. That's moment number one. Moment number two is I don't know how long later it was, but then the Freebirds come back and they were kind of split, and I became a fan of Michael Hayes. To this day, a huge Michael Hayes fan and Freebirds fan, and
got to.
You already know Hogan's my 1A, but 1B is Michael Hayes, and there's just something about him that I connected with, and ever since that day. So those are probably my two big things from TBS.
I feel you. I have two favorites. One would definitely be watching Saturday night with my grandmother, who was a wrestling fan, and learning more about wrestling just through her interactions, stuff like that. But the second, and probably I would even say, is probably one of my favorite traditions. A Christmas Story.
Oh, yeah.
TBS would run A Christmas Story all day, and they got to the point where that was a gimmick for them, where now on Christmas, that's all they play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But before, it used to be, okay, we'll play other stuff. We'll play, what was it? What was the show? Mama's House or whatever. You remember that show?
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah,
TBS.
yeah.
Like, it would have to come like, in blocks or whatever. But yeah, Christmas Story on TBS, man. As a kid, that was tradition, man. That was tradition.
Man, that's good. That's good. Yeah, 'cause you think about how he built that, and he built it off of those reruns.
Yeah. Yeah. Syndication, like you said,
Yeah,
Andy Griffin, yeah.
And
In
then
the Heat
later
of the
on,
Night. Was it In the Heat of the Night on TBS or was that CB?
I'm not
I
sure.
want to
That
say he ran that in
may have been.
syndication too. Yeah, yeah,
But keep in mind, he revitalized a lot of classic movies with Turner
yeah,
Classic Movies.
yeah, yeah.
TNT, that all the network stuff that he had on there. I mean, it's just crazy to think about what he did. It's
Yeah,
just revamped what cable networks would be.
yeah.
The first superstation.
man.
That's it.
I
That
mean,
is, yeah, I remember that very
Yeah,
well.
to
that
this
was
day,
that
I
was the
mean, you
name.
watch. I know I'm being biased, but you watch the Braves play in any city across the country, and you will see a ton of Braves fans, and it all goes back to kids from TBS because their
Yep,
parents. A lot of us are fans because of what our parents were fans of,
yeah,
and those people grew up watching the Braves because that's all you could get
yep.
because they
Yeah,
were on all the time. Everybody
There's so
else.
many Braves fans in Alabama. Like while
Mhm.
I was during my time at Tuskegee and Auburn, all those people are Braves fans. Every
Mhm.
single one of them. Every single one of them.
Mhm. Just wild what
it's
he
true.
built. So,
Yeah.
and then going back to something you said, Adelaide, earlier, you talked about,
Hmm.
some people start a charity and others start a wrestling company. He had multiple charities too.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Huge. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Goodwill Games, but he did that in Moscow. And I think that was
Hmm.
started after the Russians boycotted the
Mm-hmm.
Olympics.
That's it.
He
Yeah.
said, no,
Yeah.
Wow,
we ain't gonna let that happen. And so we're gonna go do our own games over there. And
that's
so
crazy.
big time. And it was all charity. The whole thing was all charity. So
It's
it
Yeah,
was
crazy.
huge, you know, environmentalist and all that kind of stuff.
I do remember
And
that. Yeah,
Captain
hmm,
Planet.
yeah,
yeah.
Captain Planet.
Several
Here,
seasons of that.
I'm sure you've eaten at his restaurants before, right?
Yeah,
Ted's
Ted's. Oh
Montana
yeah.
Grill.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, there's some good burgers in there, man.
Mm-hmm. Bison burger.
Yes, sir. All right, well, thank you guys for entertaining this today. Thank you for watching out there. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share. You know the drill. It's what we all say on YouTube. So go out there and do it. Interact with us. Shoot us something down in the comments. Let us know how you liked it, didn't like it. What and who's your most influential? When you think about talent, because I think one day we're gonna do one really about some people who've influenced the
Hmm.
wrestling business as a whole.
Definitely.
So for Adelaide, for Adrian, I'm Greg. We will see you on the flip side. Peace.
You don't know what hard times